The RØDECaster video is pretty incredible, but there are a few features missing that could be a deal breaker for you. First, thanks a lot to Rode for sending this to me to share with you on the channel. Before we get into this, I will say I have already provided this feedback to them, and I think these are things that can probably be added in a firmware update. So if they do add these features, I will leave a link down below to a follow-up video about this. So what are the missing features that might make this not work out for you right now? Well, a big one is the HDMI output. Now there are two HDMI outputs on the device. You can go into the settings to configure them. If you scroll over here, you'll see HDMI A and HDMI B. And if you tap into it, the options are program or multi-view. If your RØDECaster is in studio mode, then the options are program, preview, and multi-view. Now that's all great, but I really want to be able to route different things out those HDMI inputs as well. The two big use cases for this are conferences and gaming. In a conference setting, you might have slides coming in from a presenter's laptop at the podium, and then you want those slides to also appear in the room. Now you can do this with an HDMI splitter and that kind of thing, but it's also really nice to be able to change what's on the screen in the room between the presenter's slides or a break screen. Now, if you didn't want to add a whole separate video switcher that runs the projector, you could use the HDMI Out Ox feature in the RØDECaster to feed the projector from one of the inputs. So imagine we have a setup like this with two cameras coming in, the screen from the presenter, and then another screen with like a break screen, just a keynote file on a loop with sponsor logos or things like that. The two outputs, one would be used for the multi-view monitor so that I can see what I'm filming, and the second would go to the projector. What I would like to do is I would like to be able to switch what's on the projector between these two different computer inputs. So be able to route the direct input from input 3, say, to HDMI output 2. This is a feature that exists on the ATEM Mini Extreme and even the OC Go Stream. So this would just make this a lot more useful for a lot of different scenarios. The other situation in this would be useful is if you are trying to stream gameplay. So if you plug in a gaming PC into the RØDECaster, right now, there's no way to then use that monitor and see that on a TV screen in front of you. You have to use a splitter before you put it into the RØDECaster. Thankfully, there are two HDMI ports on the RØDECaster video, so maybe they were planning on doing that and it just didn't make the first cut for the launch. The next feature I want to talk about is using keyed sources as overlays. What do I mean by this? The RØDECaster video has one of the easiest green screen features. You can green screen your camera, but you can also green screen graphics like drawings on an iPad or graphics from a computer. I have another video that goes over the step-by-step of how to actually bring in drawings from an iPad into the RØDECaster. Now, there is an overlay feature in the RØDECaster video, but it's really just for adding static logos or other graphics into the stream. If you go into the overlays here, this row turns blue if you've got graphics loaded into any of these slots. The limit is that you can't use camera sources as overlays. What I would like to be able to do is tap on this button, now that I've got my iPad graphics here, and use this as a persistent overlay. The workaround is that you have to create a scene where you can create a scene that actually includes both the main camera that you want on the background, as well as this on top of it. It's kind of like a picture-in-picture, but they're both full screen. And it works, but you have to create them one by one for all of your camera angles. What I actually want is just to go tap the overlays button here, and then be able to use this camera as an overlay persistently. And lastly, I want to talk about audio. Now, there is a full audio mixer inside the RØDECaster video, and it is actually kind of amazing how many features it has. It's basically like having a full RØDECaster inside. You can connect XLR mics, you can pair wireless mics, you can create submixes for all the different outputs available. It's really got a lot going on in it. One of the things it doesn't have, though, are any physical controls on the RØDECaster to control the audio. So you do have to use a little on-screen menu here to adjust the volume or turn on and off sources. Now, if you're just recording a video podcast that you're going to edit down later, this isn't really a problem. But for live streams, it gets a little bit awkward. For example, I might want to have a countdown timer to start the stream, or a break screen, or even play back a video clip. So if I were in here and I go and tap this video clip, while this is playing, I want the audio from the clip, but I probably want my microphone muted. And right now, there's just no way to do that. I would have to go into here, find my microphone, and then manually adjust the volume and bring it down, which is, as you can see, not something I can do very quickly. So what I actually want is to be able to assign audio channels to scenes and camera angles. The way I imagine this working is to go into Rode Central, where you can edit your camera angles and scenes, and have a new section over here to enable audio sources. So it's similar to how we can go into the audio mixer and change which of the sources are available on the different mixes. I basically want to be able to do this, but for the video angles. So for each of these camera angles and for any of the scenes that are created, I want to tell it which audio channels should be enabled when that camera or that scene is on the air. Until that is available, it's not really possible to use this for a live stream where you are also the talent. So I hope they can add this, because this is really what's stopping me from using it for Lily's live streams in her studio. So if any of these features are deal breakers for you, then keep an eye out for firmware updates, and we'll see if they can add any of these features in the future. I'll leave links down below to other videos that I've got of how to use the RØDECaster video for different setups and different scenarios. And thanks again to Rode for sending this out for me to share with you on the channel. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.